Greetings, YouTube. I lately have been reading the Pathfinder 2nd Edition, and I'm currently up to the bestiary. I've gone through the Player's Handbook and the GM's Guide. And one of the things I've noticed along the way are the descriptions and the illustrations of equipment. Now, the illustrations in the bestiary, so far I've looked at them, I haven't gotten that far into it, are just awesome. They have knocked it out of the park when it came to the illustrations of the creatures in there. Just beautiful work. And a lot of the illustrations of characters and stuff from the Player's Handbook and from the GM's Guide are also really, really good. Like some top tier kind of gaming illustration stuff. I don't think they're quite the same level as the bestiary things, but still very nice stuff. And I found it very entertaining that one of the iconic characters they show repeatedly in the Player's Handbook is a gray-haired dude. So it's kind of nice getting someone who is shown as having a little bit of a life behind him. But one of the things that drives me nuts is the illustrations they show of people wearing armor everywhere. They showed a court scene, and there's a barrister, black robes, white wigs that are kind of doing this, British barrister thing, accusing someone. It was very dynamic. It was like something on one of the Japanese court games you can play, I guess. It's like really over-the-top animation. But the person on the stand is wearing field plate, just no helmet, and they're like slamming their fists, their mailed fist on the stand and breaking it and stuff. And I'm like, what idiot lets someone in field plate testify in court? What settlement? What legal system? What guard structure of a town or a city allows people to walk around in armor? No! You don't allow that! People don't get to walk around in armor. They showed illustrations of people in taverns, and they're all wearing their adventuring gear. No! Let's look at the real-world kind of versions of this. Let's look at riot gear. Do people that wear riot gear wear it 24/7? No. Let's look at soldiers. Their combat armor. Do they wear their combat armor all the time? No. They wear it when they are on patrol, when they are on a mission, and when they get off the mission, they take it off. Let's look at some non-military versions of this. Let's look at hockey players and American football players. Do hockey players and American football players walk around in their padding all the time? No, they do not. Why? In all of these cases? Because it's heavy, it's uncomfortable, it's hot. You don't want it on your body unless you have to have it on your body. Unless you are engaged in the activity that the equipment is designed to be used for, you don't wear it. And it's like there's a thing like there's feats, and like from 3rd edition all the way up, through Pathfinder. I think 2nd edition has it, that lets people who are really rough and tough to sleep in armor, and the concept being that way you're up and ready in case the monsters attack your camp. I don't care if you think I'm that rough. If I'm that rough and ready, I don't want to sleep in armor. When I get home, one of the first things I do is take off my shoes, take off my pants, put on, like the moment I'm wearing a pair of brightly colored shorts, but sweatpants and sweatshirts. I put on my comfies. Why? Because they're comfortable. And I don't want to be wearing pants in my own house if I don't have to. It's no different in a fantasy setting. Nobody wears their adventuring gear anywhere when they're not adventuring. And they don't sleep in this stuff. Mountaineers who are trying to cap Mount Everest do not sleep in their climbing gear. They just don't. They get in their sleeping clothes and climb into their sleeping bag and hope they don't freeze to death. So the idea that everybody in a fantasy setting just walks around in their armor and has all of their adventuring gear on themselves is absurd. It's why in the real world, people in the later eras would carry their swords and a buckler, because the buckler could just be kind of hung off the sword, and yet it was a ready defense, which is a wonderful segue into the next portion of this video, which is talking about bucklers, because Pathfinder 2nd Edition both describes them as and illustrates them as things you strap to the back of your arm. No, no, no. Straight to jail. Anyone gets that reference right there, you win one internet. That's not what you do with a buckler. A buckler is not strapped here. A buckler is held in the hand. Now, bucklers can be very small. Buckler can be this big. Buckler can be larger. They're designed to be used dynamically in one hand. I've made some. In fact, I recently made one out of a saw blade. It came out really well. I was quite happy with it. Go check out my DeviantArt page for a picture of it. And they're dynamic devices. They're both obviously just to block things, but they're for striking. They're for pinning. They're for, obscuring things. They're a very highly dynamic device. You punch with them. You use the edge. You use the center. They don't strap here. If you strap a disc on the back of your arm, all you've done is make your arm less effective and provided you with pretty much zero defense. You'd be better off just wearing armor on your arm, which is designed to move with your arm and protect your arm and not slow you down by strapping something there which is not really doing anything for you. No, a buckler is held in the hand. A buckler has always been held in the hand. A buckler always will be held in the hand. I want to find out who first planted the seed in the minds of game designers that bucklers are strapped to the arms. It's pernicious. I was thrilled to see in Pathfinder 2nd Edition that they've gone to a bulk concept for equipment. So equipment has bulk as well as weight. So they've separated them finally. We've finally got away from the absurdity that has plagued us for 40 years of looking at everything as just having weight, and then that's so great swords are said as being, well, they're 15 pounds. No, they're not 15 pounds. Now it's shown us that, okay, they have a reasonable weight. They also have a bulk. Why? Because they're big two-handed things, and it takes two hands to use them. So having a bulk concept as well as a weight concept, beautifully done. Okay, I like that feature. And it also talks about the fact that wearing armor is easier than carrying armor, because armor is easy. When it's strapped to your body, it moves with you, as opposed to just being a big lump of stuff you're lugging around and your arms are on your back. Love it. And yet, they were able to successfully separate those two things. Perfectly logical. But they still have the concept that people wear armor in taverns and bucklers are strapped to arms. Now, even though I've been involved in the hobby since '78, I cannot remember ever there being a time when people didn't think bucklers were strapped to arms. Where did this come from? Because if you've ever seen someone use a buckler in fencing or HEMA or anything else, you will know that that's not what happens. And it makes no sense to me that people believe this. If you have eyes and you see someone use one of these things, you'll know that it's not strapped here, it's held here. It's like, I've been saying this for decades. Anyone that has ever thought that great swords weighed 15 pounds is someone that has never seen one in person and has never touched one. And if you're not willing to do the proper research, then don't include the thing in your game. All right? And just talk to people who will tell you how much a rifle should weigh before you design science fiction rifles or design what your steampunk rifle looks like. A rifle should weigh this range. Why? Because this is the range that real-world rifles weigh. Why? Because this is what real-world people can carry. By the same extension, people don't wear armor in taverns or in courtrooms, and bucklers are held in the hand, not strapped to the arm. I know I'm being a pedant. I understand this. But it infuriates me when I see people perpetuating some absurdity that is going to have people continuing to do things that make no sense and ignore the really cool aspects of that item in the real world. Bucklers are awesome, and we don't emulate them in games well at all. Now, if anyone out there knows a really good game that does emulate bucklers well, tell me. So I'll freely admit, I've never really been into the whole Renaissance era kind of thing. I prefer the higher fantasy stuff, which is a blend of all kinds of stuff. So fencing and street dueling and things have never really been an aspect of anything I'm really interested in when it came to tabletop games. So if there is a role-playing game that really emulates bucklers and that kind of thing really well, let's hear about it, because they are cool things and they should be dealt with the way they are in the real world, and we should stop perpetuating the absurdity that they're strapped to arms. So let's talk about the absurdity of wearing armor in taverns and strapping bucklers to our arms.